Welcome back to Pride. We've got another engine that won't start. This is a Homelite 14-inch blade chainsaw, 2-stroke, nice and small. Just picked it up for free. Guy said it won't start, hasn't started in a while. Just trying to get rid of it, so we'll take a look, see what we can do. So the first thing I took a look at was the gas tank, make sure there wasn't any gas in there. There was a little bit, so I siphoned the gasoline out. That's old gasoline. It didn't look too bad, but I siphoned it out anyway and shook it around. And right away, first thing I noticed was the fuel filter is floating around in there, bobbling around. It's not connected to the hose that it's supposed to be connected to. So that's our first problem right there, is it's not getting any fuel. So we'll go from there. We'll take this apart, get to that gas tank, change the lines, and while we have it open, we'll inspect everything else as well. We got some star screws on this side over here, so we'll start getting those screws out, try to get this open and see what we find inside. Alright, we got 3 of the star screws out from the side here. Then I decided to take that top red cover off. That was just 2 screws in the back. One here and one here. Got that top cover off. Now we can get a better idea of what else we need to take, what other screws are holding this together, so that we can get that gas tank out. We get a much clearer view now. Access to the spark plug. We can get a clear shot of the head of the engine there and the exhaust as well, so we can start inspecting everything. Alright, I've got that left cover off. Here's the cover right here. The only bolt that I had trouble with is this one that goes right here. Show you the bolt. It's got a lock nut on the opposite side. One, it's a hard angle to get to. You can see it's a little bit stripped from whenever they've tried to take this apart in the past. And it goes right through this safety guard right here that you click forward and back. And that one was a tough one to get to. The lock nut was on the inside of the heat shield right here. Get a good view of that for you. So the lock nut was right here on the inside, then the casing, and then this nub for that safety guard. So that was the only bolt I had trouble with getting this cover off. Everything came off nicely other than that. Engine looks like it's in good shape, nice and clean. I'm going to clean it up a little bit. Take that gas tank out, see if we could change those lines, get a fresh filter on there, see if we can fire this thing up. So before we take out this gas tank, I want to show you guys real quick. You see this hole right here? This is the gas line that's supposed to be running through that hole into the tank. The return line is still intact and it's still inside the tank. So this one with the white stripe on it looks like the return line. That's the one that shoots gas back into the tank when the carburetor is full. This is the intake line. This is the one that sucks gas from the tank to the carburetor. And that's the one that's supposed to have that fuel filter on the end of it, which is just bobbling around inside the tank. So we'll probably change both just to be safe. We'll take that gas tank out now and take a look. Alright, so we've got access to the gas tank. We got that fuel filter out, the old one. We got that little bit of hose. You can see some hose here still on the fuel filter where it corroded. And we've got a little bit of hose that was inside the tank. This is the length that was dangling inside the tank with the fuel filter on the end of it. And this small hose is the other end that was going into the carburetor. So it broke in 2 places. It broke entering the gas tank and it broke inside the gas tank as well. So we're just going to use some new fuel line. I got this end cut to a sharp angle. This way we can feed it through this hole for the gas tank. It's going to be a tight fit. You kind of have to wiggle it through. It's a small hole there. You can see the return line is still in and the return line looks good. So I might not change that line. I might just change the intake fuel line. So we'll feed this line through. That's the first thing you want to do. Alright, we fed our fuel line through. once you feed that fuel line through, you're going to keep your length. You don't want to make any cuts just yet. You want to reach in with your needle nose pliers. You can see the fuel line right there that I just placed in. Got some gunk still in there as well that we're going to have to get out before we finish this job. But with your needle nose pliers, you're going to grab hold of that new fuel line you just put in, and you're going to want to push it through from the top and pull out from the bottom with your needle nose pliers, just so we don't stress the line, stretch it, and compromise. You know, we're putting a brand new line in. We don't want to shorten the life of it before we even start using it. So it's good to push through while you also pull with the needle nose pliers. Now we've got it out right here. We're going to now cut and make a straight angle, straight line, instead of the angled line we had before. That was just to be able to get it through the gas tank. So now we just have a straight cut. Alright, so here we have a fresh fuel filter, brand new. We're going to use this fuel filter. It's a little bit cold. Harder to work with these gas lines when you've got cold temperatures. Alright, now we have our new fuel filter all the way on. It's real secure on our gas line. Before we put our fuel filter back into the tank, I just want to clean out this tank real quick. There's a little bit of shreds of that old fuel line. So I'm just going to clean that out real quick before going to the next step, which will be feeding the line back through, putting that fuel filter back in the tank. Alright, our gas tank is nice and clean. Now we're going to feed that fuel filter right into the tank. So we're going to pull from the top, push from the bottom, feed that fuel filter right into the tank. Once you get that fuel filter into the tank, you want to make sure it's got room to move around to any corner of the bottom of that tank. And the bottom of this tank looks like the fuel at its lowest point will be right in this bottom left corner. That's the deepest part of this tank. So we want our fuel filter sitting right there and able to move around as well. So we're going to keep it right there. You can always give a little bit extra length. Push a little bit more line in there, and that should be good. Nice good spot for that fuel filter to sit, and it can also move around. It has a little bit of extra slack there to be able to move around. Once you get that step done, we're going to want to cut the top length of the line to be able to fit it right back onto the carburetor there. So we're just going to measure and see how much line we need to be able to reach that carburetor. So it's not much to be able to reach it, and we'll always cut with a little bit extra. You never want to go too short, but if you go too long, it's always okay because you can always cut more off. Whereas if you go too short, you're not going to be able to add any line. You'll just have to replace the whole thing all over again. So I left a little bit of extra length there. Now we'll just feed it onto the carburetor. Alright, we got our new fuel line onto the carburetor. You can see here, it ran into the gas tank. The return line looks good, so we're not going to change it. It wasn't too difficult to get to. So if it ever breaks in the future, we can just swap that out as well. We'll just go for just the regular gas line replacement for now, since that's the one that was damaged. Everything looks good on the carburetor. Kill switch over here. We'll take out the spark plug, take a look at it, but I'm guessing everything looks fairly good. Really good shape on this engine. So I think after we put some gas in it, I think it'll fire right up. So let's try it out. Let's put it back together and fire it up. Alright, we put some fresh gas in our chainsaw. We put some bar and chain oil. Now it's time to try to fire it up, see how it runs. Alright, we got ourselves almost a brand new chainsaw. Only problem it had was that gas line. It's a common problem. Gas engines, when they've been sitting for a while, that gasoline will sit in the tank and it'll eat away at the gas line. I'm happy nothing else was wrong with it other than that. It was an easy fix. Very cheap fix too. That small section of gas line that I used to fix this chainsaw, that was about 60 cents worth of gas line right there. Pretty much brand new chainsaw. Looks like it's in great shape, hasn't been used too much. Thank you for watching. You can find more videos like this in the Won't Start section, Pride Martial Arts.